I slept with my work client. I used to work as a receptionist at a car dealership, not a shitty used car dealership, a fairly high-end brand. When I first started, we had an online sales manager named Chris. Chris was a complete dishabag and never really grew out of his college self. He was mid-30s and married, I think, and still talked about cocaine and football all day. He also loved to hit on customers, and had zero concern for the presence of a husband or boyfriend. There was a particular couple that had worked with Chris for years, and had bought not only themselves cars from him, but their kids' cars too. They would often stop in just to say hello and to chat with him. I saw them come in together one day to talk to Chris briefly, and didn't see either of them again for about 7 or 8 months. I had no idea at the time that Chris was sleeping with the guy's wife and had been for a very long time. Fast forward about 7 to 8 months, the husband comes in at about 3 p.m. on a Friday. We're super busy. Keep in mind that I know nothing about these people's personal lives, so I had no idea what was about to happen or why it was a big issue that this guy was in the dealership. He came up to the front desk and asked me if he could talk to Chris. He was holding a ceramic jar of some sort, not an urn or a pot, but a really weird jar, almost like it was made out of clay. I didn't bother to ask about it and told him that Chris wasn't here today, which was the truth. He seemed calm enough and said all right and walked over to the showroom. To describe my view, the desk is dead center by the entrance. The showroom is attached to the lobby my desk is in with no wall in between, so I see everything perfectly. He walks in circles for a little bit, not really looking at any cars. He keeps walking towards Chris' office, and turning around when he gets close to it. This goes on for maybe 20 minutes until out of nowhere, he goes up to Chris' office and slides a note under the door, walks out to the middle of the showroom, and opens the jar. He begins slowly pouring out the contents of the jar, which looked like dust or even gunpowder. He dumped them all over our showroom, and a few of the salesmen started to notice what was happening and just kind of stood and watched. He said nothing this entire time. Once he was done pouring out the jar, he kind of threw a fit. He threw the jar at the ground and started kicking the powder around, still not saying a single word. Our GM eventually came out and grabbed him with the help of another salesman and escorted him out front and held him there, and I had to call 911 and try to describe what in the fuck just happened. The man stayed silent with the exception of a few cusses the entire time. Turns out, the man's wife had passed away recently and he found out after her death that she had cheated. He had her cremated and spread her ashes in our showroom. Chris never told any of us what was on the note, and we had to close the dealership for 3 days and have a biohazard team come and give us the okay to reopen.